the time had come to move on and leave the sand dunes of the northern Sahara behind. The plan now was to travel southwest towards Agadir on the western Atlantic coast, a fair old trek, which was to take in some fabulous riding. Unfortunately, things didn't quite work out as planned.
Okay, we have arrived in Todra Gorge in Morocco, central Morocco, just south of the Atlas Mountains. Read and seen a lot of this online and in books. Very, very dramatic, I got to say. So I've just driven up all the way from the Sahara, from Mazuka. Seem to have taken a stupid back road for some reason, but anyway, we're here. It's midday and well, it's very dramatic. Just give you a little recap of my situation, which isn't particularly great. I've had the Delhi belly or Moroccan belly for 4 days now, and it's grinding me down. Just as I think I'm getting better, it begins to get worse again, and I am physically and mentally struggling, much to the extent that I'm now considering heading home. I'm just over halfway from my planned trip, but I'm not sure if I can continue. I'm getting fairly concerned about falling ill in this country. I'm sure they look after the people well, but yeah, it's getting a bit desperate now. It's a real challenge, so I'm having to really reconsider the situation. I've got so much to see as well, so much to see, really frustrating, but I've got to stay safe at the end of the day. So I'm afraid, guys, this segment of the video is going to be a bit of a downbeat one, because I've kind of had it now. I can't really, I don't think I can continue. I'm gonna, I don't know, find somewhere tonight and have a re-evaluation, like I said, and I'm really not in good shape. The worrying thing is I'm so far from home. I've got to travel right across, right up to Tangier Med, which is a hell of a ride, and then I've got to then go right across Spain, right up to the top of Spain to Santander. It's just a endurance test, and to be frankly, I'm utterly pissed off of the situation, because it wasn't supposed to be like this. But I'm not enjoying myself. But anyway, this is where we are. So 2 nights in the Sahara last night, to what I thought was to recuperate, and then lo and behold, I set off this morning and bang, the stomach came straight back. That'll be 4 days and 4 nights, and I can't bear it any longer. I've had enough. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to take much more footage worth looking at. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I'm on my limit now. I'm just not enjoying it, so I'm going to sign off for the time being, and maybe give an update later.
To say I was disappointed would be an understatement. After all, I was only 2/3 into my journey with the best to come. but as I rode into this canyon, I knew it was over. I had to accept defeat. The stomach bug was going nowhere, and being at least 5 or 6 days from home, I had to act now. So off I headed west instead of my planned southwesterly route, missing out on some real gems I might have visited. But from here on, I had one place on my mind: home.
Well, if you look at the sat-nav, you'll see the twisters that I'm navigating at the moment. I'm going between Zarat, I think it's called, to Marrakesh. And it's the road that takes you over the top of the High Atlas. And I've now got my coat on because it's bloody cold. But it's stunning scenery, and what really strikes me is the wow, that is what you call loaded. What really strikes me is the all the colours of the mountains, all different types of rock. But I stayed in a hotel last night. It was very pleasant, cheap as chips. Have a good night's sleep, bit of recuperate. And there's a nice sort of burger bar restaurant next door. God, dying for a bleeding burger and a coffee. Well, I couldn't. I want this thing to go desperately. One of the turnings a few miles back was the turning to the Tis and Test. Very famous twisty route that goes across the mountains. It's one of my hit lists. I think it's one of the highest passes in the whole of Africa, and I had to drive right past it. So I'm now heading towards Marrakesh, which is kind of home, heading home now because of this damn bug. So had to knock that on the head. So the plan is to stay in Marrakesh hopefully tonight. And find a hotel there. Well, that's the way to carry stuff around it. Talk about livestock standards. We've got sheep on the roof, sheep in the back. Gets the job done, doesn't it? So it is out here. We back home are just full of regulations, for good or for bad. But yeah, sticking the old sheep on the roof. So I'm thoroughly enjoying these roads. Beautiful roads. It's right up there with the Alpine mountain twisters, Pyrenees twisters. Lovely roads. I met a load of probably about a dozen French men and women. We were all riding Royal Enfields, old ones. And it seems, from what I can make out, they flew over and picked the bikes up. But that was interesting. Yeah, all Royal Enfields. So here we have a typical Moroccan town. Full of smoke and shade. Smells nice though, but I'm not going to eat any more Moroccan food.
I found riding Marrakesh to be a major challenge which goes against everything you've ever thought was safe and proper riding. No rules, no courtesy, and lots of horns. So I just joined in, and I loved it. Well, I looked for accommodation for the night and I chose to stay in another traditional riad within the old Medina area. All I had to do now was find it. You can always depend on Google. Not.
Right, we're among the chaos of Marrakesh. And my sat nav is Google Maps has told me to go through a doorway. Yeah, you can see what we're up against here. Absolute madness coming through. Motorbikes, mopeds, no rules at all. But we'll go through and see what happens. Going through that. Oh my word, what have we got ourselves in for? Fucking hell. What the? If I get stuck, I can't turn this bastard around. Hello there. Hello. first to have ended up doing this.
Don't worry. Looking for Riyadh, Le Jardin de l'Hélas.
This one?
Yes, this way outside. Follow
Okay.
me.
You can go take the bike, yeah?
You want to be at the Jardin de l'Hélas?
Yeah.
Suddenly I was surrounded by people who appeared to want to help. Oh, help they did. Costing me around £2 to £3, bless them.
Oh, all the hotels I could have chose. That's an experience, eh? Oh my bloody lord. What? I can't take the bike through there. You have to walk?
Yes, walk.
How far?
Where from?
England.
England. Welcome to Marrakesh.
My brother lives in England.
Your brother lives in England, is he? Okay. Whereabouts?
What's your name? What's your name?
My name's Des.
Yes. You're welcome. Yeah, this.
It's okay here.
Yes, walk.
Is it safe?
Well, I'm not going to deny it. I thought I was totally screwed. The place looked like a bloody hellhole. What had I gone and booked for the night? I wasn't at all happy leaving the bike in an alleyway full of kids. I had about £2,000 worth of camera equipment on board, but I just had to go where they led me.
Be careful, don't touch. You watch it. Your map.
It's not problem, it's close, it's very
That's what?
No, this way Riyadh.
It's beautiful place.
It's blocked, isn't it?
Yes, it's just
Is that one there?
What's your name, Riyadh? What's your name, Riyadh?
What's mine?
What's your name, Riyadh?
Jardin l'Hélas.
Jardin.
Oh, yeah,
Riyadh.
of course.
Riyadh du Jardin?
Yes, it's close.
Okay.
Le Jardin de l'Hélas.
Can you give it a look?
Comme ça, on
Hello.
How are you?
بلا ما يخاف على موطور احنا
I'm a
قبل.
little bit going down a big motorbike.
Okay, what did you put in?
Just here.
There is a parking just there.
Well, the Riyadh owner was rather perplexed I had ridden my adventure bike down these endless alleyways, as the main road was just 10 metres around the corner. After a rather pleasant sleep in a bucket cheap hotel or motel in Ulzuret, I ain't got a clue how you say it, but it starts with an O, got a Z in it. Ulzuret. I'm going to get this right. I'm going to tell you what it is proper because, okay. A place called Oyarzazate. So that's where I stayed last night. Set off quite nippy Yeah, I think we're at quite a high altitude at that point, 2,500 feet I think I was. And yeah, set off to Marrakesh. So that meant having to go over the high Atlas mountains, which can go right up to about 6,000-7,000 feet. And it got progressively colder. I had to put my coat on. First time for a while. And I think the highest point was 2,700 meters, which is about, let's say about 7,000 feet. And it's a lovely, lovely, twisty pass. Lovely roads. Some parts have collapsed and some parts had rockfalls, landslides. But you know, as they do here, they cut the road open, they put a little diversion round. But it's a lovely, lovely old run. I had to visit a cave at one point. I'm not telling you why, but got to Marrakesh. Yeah. Found myself following Google Maps, and it took me into this doorway in a wall on a motorbike. Would you believe this? Going through all these alleyways, and through chucking a few dirham at some kids, finally found me riad that I booked for the night. And as in all riads, you open the door and it's an oasis. It's a different place. It's calm. It's kind of flowers, green in there. And so I was quite relieved actually after getting out this dusty alleyway full of cats and shite and rubbish. And I thought I'd walk around the Medina, the old part, the market area. Oh God. I mean, how many pairs of slippers can you sell to tourists? There were racks and racks of brassware, leatherware, perfume, spices, and slippers. Thousands of them. But that's Morocco, that's Marrakesh, whatever rocks your boat. If you don't like that sort of thing, don't come here. And I got to the square, which I was quite looking forward to. I've got an invasion of ants, excuse me. And yeah, walked around the square, took a photograph of a snake charmer, and next time I'm pounced on by some bloke giving it, you know, 30 dirham, 30 dirham. I told him to clear off. I thought, take a photograph, I'm not charging me for it. Not your damn picture. It just, I thought, here we go, you know. I'm not a tourist. I am not a tourist. I cannot do touristy things. I hate crowds. And it was rammed full of tourists. So I made my way back, and then I got lost. Good old Google Maps wouldn't even take me back to the riad that I stayed in. And I had to pay another 20 dirhams to some goat herder to take me to the front door, which as it turned out was about 15 yards away. Yeah. So that's my day. That's Marrakesh for you. I'm sure there's some lovely places around here. I just haven't got enough time to actually give it a fair comment. I've just been to the market area, the touristy bit, but there, you know, there's lots of things to do and see around Marrakesh. So tomorrow I'm going to head off west towards, I haven't quite planned it yet, but I'm going to head off towards the Atlantic, and we'll see where we go from there. Catch you later. surface paradise resort of Azora, I then set off north hugging the Atlantic coast. It was late, so I camped out in the wild on a rocky outcrop overlooking the Atlantic, but it was a tough night. My stomach issue was getting worse and I was up all night with little or no sleep. I desperately wanted to reach Tangier Med for the ferry to leave the African continent and get into Europe, where my medical insurance would probably serve me better if I needed it, but it was still days away. I wanted to hug the coast on the minor roads heading north, but they were too slow and I got myself a speeding fine, about €15 cash. The police here, though courteous, tend to treat everybody with suspicion. They interrogated me as to why I was carrying a two-way radio. I eventually explained it was a satellite tracking and SOS transponder. They didn't seem very convinced, so they requested my passport, which was vigorously checked, then allowed me to get on my way. So I decided to get off the minor roads and hit the motorways, where I opened it up. Casablanca was now in my sights, for it was my destination for the day. Feeling drained and shattered, I rode for what seemed to be for hours in ridiculously high winds. Staring into the distance, all I could see was this orange haze. Then suddenly, I was in a howling sandstorm. Well folks, I don't know if you can see that, but I'm on a motorway heading towards Casablanca and we're in the middle of a sandstorm. I can barely open my eyes. It's just orange dust. Look at that. I've still got about 100 miles to go yet, so I don't know how long this is going to last for. Certainly going to foul my bloody air filters up. I mean, how the conditions, how they can deal with these conditions. I mean, if you look at the floor, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a really fine dust blowing around. Casablanca is about another 100 miles away, so let's carry on. Well, it's a funny old game, this adventure motorcycling. Like, one night you could be out in the wilderness in a little coffin-sized tent on top of a mountain overlooking the sea, like I was last night, and then the next night you could book yourself into a nice little boutique hotel like this one. Bit of an improvement, I think, from a windswept rock which acted as my toilet. So yeah, I'm in Casablanca and that is where I'm going to stay tonight. So a stopover in Casablanca tonight, and then we're moving forward north towards Rabat and hopefully Tangier Med to the port, where I will then hop on to a ferry to Spain, back in Europe. I'll plan what I'm going to try and do tomorrow, but hopefully I'm going to get to Tangier Med. So I mean, it's about 250 odd miles, so it's quite doable. And I may be able to hop onto a ferry back into Spain. What I did encounter was about a 3-hour-long sandstorm. That was interesting. And mixed in with a little bit of rain, I basically turned orange. When I turned up into the hotel foyer here, everybody looked at me and thought, what's this coming off the street? I looked a mess. I had sort of orangey mud all over my jacket, and it was embarrassing. There's dust all over my black jeans. But the guy said, "Sorry sir, you need a reservation. Goodbye." And I got out my phone and I went
on booking.com. I thought, got one. Where's my room? Anyway, I got my room, and I'm going to have a hope for a good night's sleep here tonight, but I went and did something really naughty tonight. I went and found myself a McDonald's. Yeah, of all the towns and all the lovely bars and all the cafes, I had to go and choose McDonald's. But I was craving something to eat. And not only did I have a McDonald's, a Big Mac, I had a milkshake, and I had a vanilla ice cream with caramel topping. God, I don't know what's going to happen tonight. I'm either going to explode, or no, I'm going to explode tonight. It's going to start rumbling in about an hour. Yeah. So, anyway, I really enjoyed it. Stuffed myself steady, actually.
Well, my stomach did indeed explode that night, so no sleep again. I was back to square one. Finally, after riding for hours and hours on the motorway, I arrived at Tangier Med. Ferry tickets booked to Spain. I waited and waited to board until darkness fell. It just seemed like Africa didn't want me to leave.
Well, here I am at Tangier Med. I came bounding up the motorway through Morocco to get myself the 4 o'clock ferry, and when I got here the computer had broken down and they said, now you've got to get the 6 o'clock ferry. Things I've got to get across the Straits of Gibraltar into Spain, and then I've got to find myself a hotel, and it's already going to get dark soon, and it's been bloody raining as well. But that's how it is at the moment. So, yeah. Let's hope I find my hotel, get a good night's sleep.
Now on board, heading to Spain, my mind was wandering with different emotions. I was both happy to leave Africa, but felt terribly sad too. Probably the result of being exhausted from riding such long distances, and again suffering from the continuous effects of my persistent stomach bug, which I had suffered for around 8 days now.
It's just so refreshing because there's nobody hassling me for money or for hotel rooms. It's just peaceful, it's clean. There's no freaking chickens, goats, cats and dogs jumping all over your feet. And there's no acrid smells. It's just clean and rather great, actually. So I stayed in Algeciras last night, in a shithole place of a port, and there was people obviously on smack laying in the hotel doorway, but you know, if you pay peanuts, you end up sleeping in zoos. So I'm stuck in Spain for another 4 days because I can't get a ferry back to the UK, would you believe that? So I'm going to spend my time meandering through Spain, and then I'm going to hopefully get the ferry from Santander to Portsmouth, and I couldn't get a cabin. All I've got is a chair, so that's going to be a long voyage. But we'll see how it goes. I'm going to have a little trip, I think, now through the mountains, which you can see over in the distance there. And yeah, back into civilization.
Well, it was a real blow not to be able to get onto the ferry at Santander for another 4 days or so. So I thought I'd go up into the mountains and have a little explore, and the idea was to have a camp there for the night. But the temperature got ridiculously cold, and things didn't quite pan out.
You know, one of those nights where it gets dark and you don't know where you're going to stay or eat. And then in the distance, this place appears. And it's my accommodation. What a beautiful place. It's even got its own Roman bath. And the ladies just put the music on and lit some candles. I've got the place to myself, and this water is like 80 degrees. It's freaking hot, but my God, it's nice. So all in the space of 1 hour, I've gone from turmoil to luxury.
Well, I certainly felt refreshed after my hot spring bath in that beautiful hotel, and I left with a glow on my face. It might have been something to do with the radioactive water that I was informed about. Finally arrived in Santander. I've got myself a rather nice converted farmhouse looking place. So it's very nice and pretty reasonably priced as well. Maybe it's a reflection of the time of year. It is getting on for sort of mid to late October now. So yeah, it's nearly the end of a tumultuous trip. We're on day 17, 18 now from when I set off. And yeah, it's been quite an experience. Had some really highs and some terrible lows, along with the illness that I've had for the last 2 weeks, which I'm pleased to say I'm just getting over. Ironically, I've just had actually my first proper meal in about 2 weeks. Full on chips, burger, beer, everything. About a half-hour walk from here in a local taverna. So that was lovely. So I must be getting back to normal now because I'm eating again. But it's been pretty grim. So the last couple of 3 weeks, I've seen some severe weather. My God, it's been absolutely stifling hot to being pretty damn cold coming through Spain. It's taken me 2 days from Algeciras to get to Santander, and it wasn't progressively colder. It got cold from the start. You would have thought Spain might have been reasonably decent this time of year, but once you leave the southern coast, I think the whole of Spain must be quite high. It's about 2,000 feet above sea level. Then you go across this massive plain, emptiness, no nothing really, up to through Madrid where I stayed last night, and up to Santander. Time I got to the mountains just south of Santander, that was about 13 degrees, 12 degrees, and it was bleeding cold. I had my grip warmers on again, but when I dropped into Santander it did warm up to about 18 degrees, so that was a little bit of relief. And the wind, I've had some massive crosswinds. I mean, I was in Norway last year and I thought I'd never see winds like that again, but these winds were terrible. Yeah, it was hard work, especially on a bike with a smaller screen than what I've got. But it was pretty monotonous. 2 days through Spain. I had to cover about 650 miles and about 300 miles a day. That's quite a push on the sort of bike that I've got. You might be right in the GS's, the big BMWs with a big bit of protection. Even my Africa Twin would have sailed it, I think. But you still get that buffeting, you know, it's not very nice. I sort of adopted this slouch across the handlebars. It's quite funny. Anybody who saw me must have thought I was falling asleep, but laid right across the tank. The handlebars are up against my elbows. I'm just hanging my hands over the front of the handlebars and just looking for the windscreen in this little air pocket behind the windscreen. And I'd ride that like that for an hour or so at a time. It's quite relaxing. But yeah, I persevered and managed to get to Santander the day before, which is always quite nice. So yeah, just looking forward to the ferry tomorrow to get back. Day and a half on the boat. It's the slow boat back to the UK. Santander to Portsmouth. Like I said, I've got a chair, so I don't know how that's going to pan out. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Should we come out around Christmas?
Time for home. Finally I was home again with my family. I had been on the road for over 20 days, travelled nearly 4,000 miles, crossed into the African continent, slept rough in temperatures ranging from 4 to 38 degrees, crossed some of the highest passes in Africa. So my lasting memory of my solo in Morocco? Sadly, it will be judged on my struggles with my illness, which lasted virtually the whole time I was in Africa. Will I ever return to Morocco? Probably not. But as time passes and I reflect on what could have been, you never know. Thanks for watching.